I am most delighted to have you on the show this morning. You are in for a treat in that I'll be reading to you in less than 5 minutes five major headlines from different Nigerian newspapers. I remain your regular host, Tion Joseph. To begin this morning, as usual, we will begin with the most influential newspaper in Nigeria, the leadership newspaper. On the front page of Leadership this morning, the list says Bauchi governor accuses Atiku of unfair treatment. Details on that story can be found on page number 7 of the Leadership newspaper. Heading down there, the first bullet says PDP flag bearer meet governor over grievances. Next bullet says we will win 2023 presidency despite opposition, says Ayu. Next point says we wish you good luck. Wiki replies. And the very last bullet says Tinubu, Atiku, Obi others to attend the candidates presidential town hall series. That is what we have on the front page of Leadership this morning. Please do well to go to our website www.leadership.ng so as to find the stories on even much more. On that note, we head on straight to the Punch newspaper, and the list story says 2023 polls. Subject presidential candidates orders to psychiatric test, says NMA. The first bullet says those with untreatable mental neurological problems should not lead, NMA. And the last bullet says medical body offers to set up panel of renowned specialists to do screening. That is what we'll be taking from the Punch this morning. That takes us to this day. The list story on this day this morning says Kwankwaso, I am not desperate to be president. First bullet on this day says, and I quote, says APC has proven to be worse than PDP. Next bullet says, insist all is not well in Northeast, where government claims it has defeated insurgency. That is what we have on the front page of this day today. That takes us to the next paper, The Guardian. The list story on The Guardian says diesel, gas prices compound FX woes, inflation outlook. That is the list story on the front page of The Guardian this morning. That leads us to the last paper we'll be reviewing this morning, The Vanguard. List story on The Vanguard says insecurity, recall ex-servicemen now, retired military officers tell FG. The first bullet says recommend aggressive recruitment of new security personnel. Seek erection of walls at nation's borders. Civilian, human intelligence gathering will help IRABO. Last bullet says military stretched thin, security expert. Thank you, viewers, for staying tuned for the first part of the show. Please do well to stay tuned also for the second part of the show, where the panel discussionalists will be giving details on these stories. I'll be back your way again 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Please stay tuned.
You must have heard that leadership is for God and country. True, but it is also important to know we are for you right there in your corner when you need us. And this is how you know. Our coverage of youth and children's issue is so unbeatable. We even produced our special edition. When others walk away, we stay with the story. We don't just report the story, we help you find the path. We bring you some of the country's finest writers, Monday to Sunday. We ask the tough questions. We speak your language. Ina kwanan?
Lafiya lau.
Wani labari muke da shi yau?
Ina karanta labarin hirar da aka da Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed.
Da kyau. We bring style to life in Le Vogue magazine. We identify leaders before others recognize them. And the data is speaking for us. So if you're not in leadership, you're behind.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Good morning and welcome to the breakfast segment of Inside Nigeria, bringing coming to you live on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Ugbebo, and of course, our guest will be joining us virtual today. He's a public affairs analyst, Taiwo. Is Taiwo Hassan Adebayo. Taiwo, it's a pleasure to have you on today's Inside Nigeria. So we have four papers for review this morning, for review and discussion. And we have Nigeria's most influential leadership newspaper this day, The Guardian and New Telegraph. These are the papers we have on our menu for review and discussion this morning. Taiwo, are you there yet? Leadership newspaper says, cover story says, Bauchi governor accuses Atiku of unfair treatment. Bauchi governor Bala Mohammed accuses Atiku of unfair treatment. PDP flag bearer meets governor over grievances. We will win 2023 presidency despite opposition. Are you? We wish you good luck, Wike replies. Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, others to attend the candidates' presidential town hall series. That's a cover story on leadership this Wednesday, midweek edition of Inside Nigeria. Taiwo? Okay, still on leadership newspaper, there's also another leading story on ASU. Leadership. We are back to leadership newspaper. Leadership newspaper says half pay. ASU ends meeting, says no more strike. The story is on page 6 or page 8 of leadership newspaper. Half pay. ASU ends meeting, says no more strike. They were in a crucial meeting yesterday on the half pay the federal government paid them, and they says they've come out of the meeting to say no more strike. For more on the stories, you can get a copy of leadership newspaper or log on to the website. From leadership, still on ASU story, we move over to the New Telegraph. New Telegraph says we are not casual workers. ASU tells federal government. Half salary. We are not casual workers. ASU tells federal government. That is the leading story on New Telegraph. We are not casual workers. ASU tells federal government. Says pro rata payment contravenes all known rules of engagement. Appeals for understanding of students, parents, others. Return to classroom. Unijust VC please with lecturers. The story is on page 3 and 4 of the New Telegraph. Now we have our guest, our public affairs analyst, back on. Mr. Taiwo, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you on today's program.
Yeah, my pleasure too.
Yes. We are flagging up with leadership. We just saw the cover story of leadership newspaper. Seems the woes of PDP continues as the Bauchi governor accuses Atiku of unfair treatment. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, thank you very much. First, I think that Atiku and the Bauchi governor, Bala Muhammad, I think they met already, apparently to discuss the issues that the governor raised in his letter to
Mm.
the national chairman of the party, Hayu. But regardless of their meeting, that letter points to uh, the undercurrent of crisis, beyond what is already in the media. I mean, I'm referring to the G5 governors' grievances. Yeah, I think the party has got deeper problems beyond that. There are members, there are leaders of the party who are not comfortable, and the letter by the Bauchi governor just goes to show just that. And also, I think that with the meeting that they had already, I think the candidate of the party, uh, it's also fully aware of the problem he faces, and I think he will be making some moves to appease those he can, just to strengthen his position ahead of the election.
Okay, thank you. Now, one would have expected that PDP will be able to put its house in order by now, given the fact that the campaigns, the presidential election campaigns, has started. But what we see is we keep having problems upon problems. When you think that they're about to resolve one issue, another issue springs up. So, is there no end in sight for this quagmire, these wranglings in the opposition, the main opposition party?
Well, politics by its nature, it's always about management of conflict, disagreement, and how it is managed will be a test of the capacity of the presidential candidate of the party, Atiku Abubakar, in terms of conflict management, in terms of unifying opposing views within his camp. And interestingly, his slogan is unifying the country. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Away from a leadership newspaper, we are looking, but still on leadership, anyways. Another leading story on leadership, talking about ASU. Half pay ASU ends meeting says no more strike. We are going back to office. We are going back to the classroom. Half pay ASU ends meeting says no more strike. And it's the same leading story on the New Telegraph. The New Telegraph also captures it vividly on its cover. New Telegraph says we are not casual workers, ASU tells federal government on his half salary. So, Taiwo, what is your take on that? The federal government got lucky, got industrial court to get the ASU back to the classrooms, and ASU received half pay. To their chagrin, they received half pay. And now, what is your view? Many Nigerians are arguing that the federal government is pushing its luck too far. In as much as these are lecturers, they've resumed, they've gone back to the classroom. Why treat them so by paying them half salary?
Yeah. First, I think ASU should be commended that they are not embarking on any strike again after they just cut off an 8 month industrial action. I think first they should be commended. Um, Secondly, the action of the federal government, yeah, even though some experts have said that the action is based on law, I think it's quite provocative. If you, with intervention of some stakeholders, if ASO has gone
Yes,
back to
well
class,
meaning Nigerians.
you shouldn't do anything that will appear like you are casualizing the kind of work that they do. What does it take the federal government to pay them their full salary? Yeah, for October. I think it doesn't go well, regardless of the position of the law, that you are using prorate term to pay them for October. You are giving them half salary. I think it doesn't go well. The third thing is also the appearance, the utterances, the posture of the labor minister. The way he talks, it reeks of disrespect for Nigeria's intellectual um, community. It reeks of so much disdain for them. So, and even the hate one strike, if the minister had come out better in terms of engaging with them, in terms of respect to them, perhaps it wouldn't have lasted up to that point. But generally, I think we should commend ASO for not backing on strike again. So what I would expect them to do, and I think that's what they have planned to do already, is to seek a decision of the court on the matter. Let the court make a pronouncement that the federal government has held, has not acted well. Yeah, and that would also form a kind of precedent. So I think they should head to court while they continue to do their work.
And now, presently before ASU resumed, they did move to appeal the judgment of the industrial court, directing it to resume to go back to the classroom. So what happens if at the end of the day they win the appeal? So is Nigeria going to witness another strike by the union for a long period to come? Taiwo, Taiwo.
Yes, I'm fully with you. Sorry for the bad
Okay,
network.
I just asked the question now. I said, as it is now, we are on the precipice because considering the fact that ASU moved to appeal the judgment of the industrial court, directing it to go back to the classroom first before it moves for appeal. So what happens if at the end of the day ASU wins appeal? And with this kind of, we like call it lackadaisical behavior from the federal government, what happens? Is the nation going to witness another round of strike by ASU, by the union?
Yeah, well, that depends on the outcome of the court case. But I think also, I think they also have a way of gauging the public. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Taiwo, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can go on.
Yeah, I think also has a way of gauging the pulse of the public. They also should realize that an industrial action could make them lose public sympathy. I think they will be well advised, that they don't have to embark on another strike. And the
Another
reason
strike.
mainly for that is that the nature of government that we have in the country. Who is the victim? Who is the casualty of ASO strike? Poor children of poor people who are still going to Nigeria's public universities. The government, against whom we are struggling, they barely feel this thing. And it's not the case that we don't have a kind of civic culture that people punish a government for actions like contributing to the closure of universities. What I'm saying is that if in 8th month the universities were closed and the government knows that in the coming election people will vote against them because of that. They will act well, but I'm not sure we have that kind of civic culture in Nigeria. So the people, the poor people, are the victims of this action. So I think another strike will not be an option for Hasso this time. Yeah, they can continue to press for their demands, get the court to compel the government to act on the terms they had agreed already. But I don't think strike action
That's
will be
not
an
fine.
option
Well,
after
that's
eight
cheering.
months.
Okay, that's cheering to hear. Now we are moving to the last paper we have on our menu, and that is the Guardian. The Guardian says diesel gas prices compound foreign exchange woes with inflation outlook. Diesel, gas prices compound foreign exchange woes, inflation outlook. Taiwo?
Yeah. Say that again. What's the question?
The Guardian has a cover story today that diesel, gas prices compound foreign exchange woes, inflation outlook. Diesel, gas prices compound foreign exchange woes, inflation outlook.
Yeah,
In
that's
other words, what he's saying is
yeah.
diesel and
I
gas
understand.
prices.
Yeah, I fully understand. I'm just going to say that it's not rocket science because these are the kind of grants on which the economy stands. Uh, for any production, if even if you are not importing, for any production, you need energy to run your plant. That is, you depend on gas, you depend on diesel to run your plant. So when the prices of these energy sources are high, it means it's going to affect your production and the product you'll be selling. The result will be inflation. Then we are also very much dependent on import. So with the foreign exchange issues, what you would have would be um, increase in prices of goods, inflation. So with the issue of the energy sources, the issue of foreign exchange, you cannot prevent inflation because these are the grants on which production stands. Yeah, and our production and our economy, these are the grants on which they stand. Before you can get anything out in your plant, you need energy to run the plant. So when the prices are high, it's going to affect your production. It's going to affect the prices of your product. Yeah. So I think what the newspaper is trying to point out is that we've got the issue of the foreign exchange affecting the prices, causing inflation, and now with the energy sources problem, the scarcity in energy sources. Yeah. So that's further draws out the inflationary pressure.
Okay, thank you so much. But just before we go, let's just get a comment on this day newspaper. This day has a story on the EFCC chairman yesterday, and it says court orders remand of EFCC boss Bawa in Kuje prison for contempt. Do you have anything to just say to that just before we go? Any views? Agency appeal says ruling surprising, creates wrong impression of chairman. Anti-graft commission seeks additional funding. Taiwo?
Yeah, I was a bit frozen. Yeah, I can see the this day headline. Court orders remand of EFCC boss Bawa in Kuje prison for contempt of court. Yeah. The court should be held for doing that. Uh, we have cases of officials ignoring court rules in Nigeria. It's gross impunity, and with what happened yesterday, it shows that the court could actually act. And also, I also like the media coverage of the issue. But it's not the first time that a chief executive of a government agency will be committed to jail for contempt. It's not the first time. The Inspector General of Police, the military chiefs, you know, they've all been affected by such orders. But what has happened? Has any of them been actually jailed? Yeah. The answer is
Exactly.
no. Yeah. So I think that until we have a situation that transcends these court orders to actually committing someone to jail, we will continue to have officials disregard court rulings. Yeah, I think it's going to continue. So my point, concisely in sum, is that while you would hail the court for jailing Bauer for contempt of court, a 4-year case, you know, that's where it ends. Who is arresting this man and taking him to Kuje? I
Jail.
remember in 2014
Jail
or
is a
20,
very sad.
20 no 2016, the Inspector General of Police himself was ignoring judgment of a court, ruling of a court, a federal high court that should investigate someone. He ignored the ruling, and the court asked that the high GP should be jailed. So, but who was going to arrest the high
Who's
J?
going to arrest the IG? It
So,
sounds funny.
so it's not the issue of this judgment. Yeah, that's fine. It's the enforcement of these
Yes.
rulings,
The judge did
which
direct
is
the IGP to enforce it. He directed the IGP to enforce it, enforce the ruling.
say
I
that
don't know.
again, please. Say that again.
I said the judge did direct, he did direct the IGP to enforce it.
Yes, but that's what
To
I'm
remand
saying. As the high J sent his men and women to AFCC headquarters this morning to pick the man up,
to pick him. That remains
EFCC
to be
quickly
seen.
released a statement yesterday that they would approach the court to set
Yes, they are
aside
looking the judgment.
the ruling. But before the court makes a decision about reviewing its judgment, the man should be in prison already first.
First,
So it is, yeah. So it is when you don't have the outcome of the review or the appeal that if it comes positive for him, he will be out of the prison. But for now, the right thing is that police should pick him up, get him to Kuje. So the enforcement is the
is
issue,
what
not just this, because every time you have Nigerian officials disregarding the court, ignoring court ruling, you have the case of the military chiefs ignoring court judgment on officials who were arbitrarily have said that look, reinstate these officers. The military has not done that, and the court is committing some of these chiefs, some of these military chiefs to jail. But who arrest a chief of defense staff or minister of defense and take him to Kuje? So I think it will be a very great progress in our democracy if we can have enforcement of these rulings. And if an official is jailed, it's going to have very high impact on our society. It would mean that if this highly placed official is jailed, just ordinary individual cannot ignore court rulings. It's going to have very high impact on our society. Yeah, and it will make officials to act right going forward. But with nothing following the judgment, impunity will continue because it'll be like, it's just the judgment, nothing would happen after all.
you're so right. You're so right there. So it's been a pleasure to having you on the program. Well, viewers, we've been talking with Taiwo Hassan Adebayo. He's a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much. Look forward to have seeing you more on the program. And this is where we call it a day on today's program. We draw the curtain on today's Inside Nigeria, brought to you on Leadership Television. Tomorrow is still another day, same time, same station. I remain Winifred Lebo. See you. Bye.